Hi everybody, it's Gia. Welcome to my channel. Today I would like to talk about something that is very widespread and very prominent but does not seem to be talked about a whole lot, and that is the male loneliness epidemic and just a masculinity crisis. A lot of men seem to be in this very strange situation at the moment, in this strange place where they're not quite sure what's expected of them or what their role is or how they're meant to act, or I don't know. I'm just seeing like a lot of men at the moment in a very stagnant spot, very unsure of like what their next move is meant to be, what they're supposed to be acting like, how they're meant to approach people, what their goals are meant to be. All these things, it seems like society's just flipped that on its head. Men are kind of afraid to, I guess, be men. I think back in the day it was men had a very specific role and women had a very specific role, and they knew what was expected of each gender. And now it's kind of, everything's getting muddled. Women are not too, like, it's happening in women too. Like, women, I think, are trying to be this hyper-masculine version of themselves, and men are becoming more feminine in a way. I think that then muddles things a lot and blurs a lot of expectations. Women can do stuff men are doing and all that, but it's like, do we want to be doing those things? Like, do we want to be working in hard labor fields? Do we, do we want to be in these roles that are physically more and mentally more aimed at men? Like, just because we can do it, like, do we want to do it? And what is the point of trying to reverse the genders and just trying to outdo each other in everything? Men and women have become each other's competition now, rather than being there to like complement the other. Like, men and women are there to, be strong in aspects that the other gender isn't necessarily as strong in, and men and women complement each other perfectly in that regard. If you don't go, well, men and women are the same, like, that's such a hot take now to have. It's like, well, we're not the same. We are, by design, we are totally different, and that's what makes us unique and what makes us so complementary to each other. But society has kind of gone, well, nope, we're all the same, and no one knows what their roles are. And men in particular, like women, I think, have adapted to being in a more male-centric, male-dominated position, I think, better than men have adapted to being in like more of a passive feminine role in a way, depending on the person, of course. But at the same time, I don't think women are happy. I don't think women are doing, like, the women that I know who are doing very male-driven careers and activities and all these things, like, they're very hardened. All the softness has kind of gone from them. The femininity's kind of gone. They're trying to just outdo men in every single regard, and these women are ending up in, well, alone, for one thing, and unhappy. Like, they can't relax and, like, be feminine because that's seen as a weakness. Being feminine is seen, and being soft is seen as something that's weak, and you shouldn't be that. Whereas men have been kind of pushed now into more of a feminine role, more of a passive position, I guess, where men are now scared and like opting out of like relationships. There's a study, well, quite a few studies, that are just kind of showing like this is one of the most like sexless generations. Like, people aren't pursuing, like, the younger generations are not pursuing relationships as frequently as the older generations, because they're scared. They're scared of being like Me Too'd, or it's a massive fear thing. So men are just kind of going, well, I'm not going to bother, I'm not going to be a part of this if like a woman's going to accuse me of something that I've not done, and I can just be like cancelled at any point. Like, I can see why men are kind of withdrawing and going, well, this is not worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, basically. I can totally understand why, because women are holding all this power at the moment. In circles of women, it's very common to hear things like, you can't trust any man. It's like, men are kind of going, well, it's not all men. And then women are kind of going, well, we don't know which ones are the dangerous ones, so we're just classing you all as predators, basically. And there is a basis of like what we need to protect ourselves, and there are, unfortunately, but in both genders, people of the opposite sex that are out to harm each other. That's just reality. But when you class all men or all women as the same, you know, you paint them with the same brush, and you're all going, well, they're all just evil and they're all out to hurt me. Like, what kind of life is that? If you're just scared of everyone around you and you're just classing everyone as a predator. I think men feel more fulfilled when they're achieving something, like something that they're passionate about or something that they're going towards. Men get a very high sense of accomplishment from reaching their goals. Women get that too, but I don't think to the same degree. I don't think women are as driven by accomplishing things. Again, not all women, but I think in general, I think we're a lot more more happy to be a little bit more low-key, a bit more passive in life, I think. Again, not all women, that's just my opinion. But because men are kind of opting out in a lot of ways and are afraid to approach women now, are afraid of getting cancelled, are afraid of getting... You don't know, because you don't know the woman you're talking to, you don't know what her intention might be, vice versa as well. So it's a mess. It's an absolute mess, and I don't think it's helpful in any way whatsoever. I think the way that men and women are wired is so different, and we have different things that fulfill us and make us feel accomplished in life. And I don't think switching those roles is helpful. Men are hardwired to want to chase those things in order to, you know, have access to the women that they want, basically. And the women kind of have the choice of the selection of kind of going, well, this is the man that I want to be with. He brings this to the table. Women control access to a lot of the things that men are wanting. So women can usually control the access to sex. Women control the access to... So, yeah, basically women set the bar, and men will just have to hit that bar to get what it is that they want. And the bar, unfortunately, has been absolutely decimated. Back in the day, if you wanted to have sex with a woman, you would have to court her, you would have to ask her father for her hand in marriage, you'd have to jump through all of these hoops to get sex. These days, it's so, you just have to swipe enough times, and if you're a reasonably good looking enough guy, like, it will probably happen for you. Like, women have lowered the bar so much for, like, access. Men don't need to show up for women anymore. Men don't need to impress women. So women are kind of going, well, why isn't this guy doing this stuff for me? Like, why am I not being wooed? Why am I not being treated the way that, you know, I think I deserve? Men are going, well, this is what you've allowed. And we have allowed men to kind of just do the bare minimum, and women are just kind of taking that and going, well, I'm not happy, but I guess I'll tolerate that. And that's where I think things have gone wrong as well, because women are, you know, more likely to end relationships than men are, more likely to end marriages, and the women will harbour resentment for a long period of time. Women have a slow burn for things like this, so, and women also, we've checked out emotionally from the relationship long before we say anything. As soon as we stop complaining about stuff, stop nagging, we're mentally gone. We are checked out. You might be going, well, it's so peaceful now, she's dropped it, because men, from what I've heard, if a man stops bringing something up, it means it's been resolved. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I've been told anyway by men. When a man stops bringing something up in his head, it's like, well, that's been resolved, awesome, move on. When women stop bringing something up, oftentimes, it can have, you know, it might have been resolved, but oftentimes a woman has brought it up so many times, not seen any change, that she then mentally checks out and goes, well, he's not going to do anything about that, is he? I think in relationships as well, people get too comfortable, and it is good to be comfortable around your partner, but there is a point where you just kind of become complacent and you just let stuff, like, you don't woo each other anymore. And if you're trying to stay in like a long-term marriage, a monogamous relationship, you need to keep something there. Like, you need to keep a spark going. Like, you can't just get complacent, and that is what so many couples end up doing. Like, you have to keep courting each other, you have to keep dating each other. Like, You can't just get complacent and expect the other person to, stick around, because that is not what happens. Oftentimes when women leave marriages and relationships, the men kind of just go, well, I did not see that coming. Where did that come from? Why didn't she say anything? Like, there's all these things. And men are genuinely, usually flabbergasted and confused why a woman's just up and left her whole life. Sometimes children, sometimes, you have a mortgage together, you have all these things. And men go, why would she do that? Because it's often, with women anyway, it's the little things that build up over time and they're not being heard. Men are giving up on women, women are giving up on men. We're all just sort of giving up on each other, and it's just sad. We're creating so much distance between the sexes and kind of going, well, we can do this on our own. And yeah, no, sure, you can, but do you want to? Is that really the life you want to live? Do you want to be by yourself? If you do, good for you. That's great, but I would say that the majority of people do want companionship of some kind in their life. And the way we're kind of just creating this massive divide and just cutting each other off at the knees and just belittling each other and just tripping each other over, and we don't want the other to succeed in some weird way. It's we want to override all of that and just be successful ourselves. We don't want to see the other person thrive and succeed and do well, because for some reason that's a blow to our ego. And I don't quite know why we're doing that. What are we trying to prove to each other? That we don't need each other? Great. Why is everyone so miserable? Why do we have such mental health epidemics going on at the moment, and depression rates and suicide rates are through the roof? Why are we so, sad? Why are we so empty about all of this? We've just stepped away from, I think, who we're meant to be as people and how we're meant to complement each other and show up for the other. Men don't know what they're working for now. Men don't know what they're trying to strive towards, and I think that might have something to do with the women kind of going, well, I don't need a man. The men are going, okay, well, great. If my entire biology is basically going, well, I need to, attract a woman and, have babies with her and all these other things. If you take that out of the equation and women are going, well, I don't want you for that, I don't want you at all, men are just going, well, what am I meant to do? It's a massive part of my identity that's just being taken away and all that. The younger generations, we don't really have that community and that purpose and that working towards something with other people. We don't really have that. The older generations had, the smaller communities, their church groups, all these things where you would show up for your neighbour, you'd show up for your family, you'd show up for your friends, or even just complete strangers. We don't really have that in this generation. And I'd say millennials and Gen Z, and I guess Gen Alpha will be the next one, where we're just so self-focused and so self-serving. So of course we're not going to look at the other gender and, go, I need you. Because we're so used to doing everything on our own, and a lot of that has to do with we don't want to be disappointed. And that's totally understandable. No one likes that feeling of disappointment, but that's also the risk we take. And you will get rejected at some point. That is inevitable. Everyone gets rejected by someone at some time, but that's the thing. You have to keep going, and you will find people that share the same visions and the same energy and the same drive that you do. We've lost the connection with each other in order to obtain some sense of success that we're kind of thinking that we need to chase after, but we're not sure what the success is, because the success, I think, has been so distorted over time. The success is money driven, the success is material gain driven. So we're collecting all these things, we're collecting all this money, and that to us is what we clarify as success. Building interpersonal connections and relationships is not valued high enough, in my opinion. We're chasing the wrong thing. We're just breaking down connections in order to just chase things that are so not important. No one lies on their deathbed and goes, wow, I really should have taken that extra shift at work. I really should have just bought that second pool for my house. Everyone on their deathbed just kind of goes, I should have spent more time with my family. You know, I want my children to be here. I want my partner to be here. I want my friends here. Like, the connection is what we're lacking and what we're missing. We don't have that community anymore. We don't have each other. And I think that is so sad, and that is going to be to the absolute detriment of our species. Oftentimes you'll hear when women are career driven, they'll get to a certain point where they've put off, you know, having a family and things like that, because they're going, well, I've got time, and they didn't have time. And women will develop a certain type of personality to be in those environments. Women will become a lot more hardened. I used to be quite a hardened person because that was me to some degree. I had a very different energy about me, a very hard shell. I didn't want anyone to get close to me at all. I didn't want to be vulnerable. That was like the most scary thing ever, to be vulnerable with someone else. I didn't want anyone to see me. I wanted them to see what I wanted to show them. I've had to learn, and I still am learning, to open myself up more emotionally and take that risk of, okay, I might get hurt, but I will be okay. And before that, I just wouldn't let myself get close to people. I wouldn't let myself get attached to people because that was just too painful if they pulled away. But now I'm like, you have to take that risk, or you're not going to develop those bonds that are going to help you through life, those, you know, strong connections with other people. So women are on that side of things, where I think women are getting harder and more coarse. I think women are getting a lot more... There's a thick shell forming on women, a very thick thing where it's like, I don't need this, I don't need men, I can do it fine by myself. And I'm sure you can do whatever you want by yourself. But that's just it, by yourself. So toss up if that's what you want or not. And with men, men are just kind of opting out of these relationships with women because they're going, well, this is not worth my time. But at the same time, if I'm not pursuing these connections and these relationships with women, what am I doing it for? Because men are hardwired, I think, to pursue women. And women are hardwired to be pursued. But as soon as you flip that on its head and women are now pursuing men, men take a more passive position, and women then go, well, now I'm bored and you're not putting in any effort and I don't respect you because you're just rolling over basically and I've had to chase you. So the roles have just reversed. And of course there are such things as more dominant women and more submissive men. Of course that's a thing. But in the generalized population, in the general population, I think women want to be softer and men want to pursue women. I think men get a great deal of confidence and a great deal of validation out of pursuing women. And women love to be pursued by men that they're interested in. It makes us feel feminine, it makes us feel beautiful. And that's just how we're designed. We're both designed in different ways. There is a crisis in masculinity and there's a crisis in femininity. And I think the only way that we can resolve that is by coming together again and learning to understand each other, communicating and trying to figure out how to show up for each other in our masculine and our feminine energies, and just finding ways to be vulnerable with each other and to also make that connection. Because I think that's the only way we can really, truly be happy with the opposite sex. And I think we need that connection to bond us, and we need that to continue forward as a society. Because at the moment we are so broken. We are such a broken society. We just think being independent is the best thing in the world. Being able to do everything by ourselves is the best thing in the world. Are you happy though? Like, are you? Yeah, sure, you can do everything by yourself, but do you want to? As a woman, do you want to do everything by yourself? Or do you want someone to compliment you in that way and show up for you and go, hey, let me take some of that burden from you. Let that be my responsibility. And as a man, Do you want a woman to be able to kind of do the exact same for you? Show up for you. Take on the things that, you know, might not necessarily be your strong points. And you take on the things that are not her strong points. And you complement each other. Just some thoughts I was having on this subject, because it is, I don't know, it just hits me every now and again, and I'm just like, oh God. I just wish this could be resolved, and I wish it was different. I wish the world was different in this way, but at the moment this is where we're at, and I think we need to find some kind of resolution, and soon, because I think we're just kind of doomed as a species unless we figure this out quite quickly. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.